All right, good evening, everybody. This is a very informal process tonight. We're going to look at a lot of videos. We're going to get some inspirational things going tonight. Yes, we're going to go over the nitty-gritty of the application process, but feel free to get up at any time and get some of the great food in the back. Let's eat it all up tonight, so help yourselves. Restrooms, for those who are not familiar with the building, are just down the hall and around the corner this way. And feel free to ask questions throughout. I'll ask you if you have any questions, but just talk away if you want to as well. I'm Matt Pisarski. I'm the administrator for the Cultural and Heritage Commission and assistant planning director for the county. And tonight we're going to concentrate on arts programming for cultural organizations and non-cultural organizations in Cumberland County, and then talk about the funding criteria that the Grants Review Panel is going to use this year to make determinations on your scores and funding levels. So I wanted to start tonight with the Arts and Economic Prosperity 5 study to give you a little bit of data to get us thinking about how important arts and cultural programming is for Cumberland County. So the EAP 5 study was done nationwide by Americans for the Arts. Cumberland County was one of the organizations in New Jersey that participated in this, so we received county-specific data out of it, and this was conducted in 2016. It was done in 341 communities. In New Jersey, it was the state, Cape May, Cumberland, Mercer, Morris, and the city of Newark. So all of those organizations, we have statewide numbers, but we also have county-specific numbers, and I wanted to give those to you so you can have a sense of what we're talking about. These are 2016 figures. The cultural sector of the economy provides over $16.5 million to the county economy each year. That is a huge number. And we were not even expecting that to be as large as it is. And you can see the breakdown here. Organization, the spending $9.5 million by the organizations and $7.2 million by their audiences. It supports 576 full-time equivalent jobs, generates $9.3 million in household income for Cumberland County, and delivers $1.7 million in revenue, tax revenue. So this is a huge sector of the economy for us. If we break down the numbers a little more, we look at audience figures and how it's spent by audience. You can see non-residents spend more than resident audiences, so that should encourage you to market outside of the county, market regionally. And then it breaks down what they spend on. These were based on 350 audience intercept surveys that were done throughout the county in 2016, along with data collected by the various cultural nonprofit organizations that are in the county. This is all on the Commission website, so you can dig through the details as we go through. But bottom line, arts is driving tourism in Cumberland County to a large extent. About 8% of non-county residents spend the night. We can work on increasing that number. That's definitely an area that we can increase. So think about collaborating with partners and doing weekend-long events. This shows your demographics for your audiences. You can see non-residents, 47% attending the arts for the first time. So these are first-time visitors to Cumberland County, and they're coming to arts events. So that's a great number. Those audiences trend older, 65 or older. You can see it's a younger audience if they're non-resident, but that also indicates that we have a lot of growth potential in younger audiences. So if there are programs that you can think of that would attract younger audiences, you have a blue ocean to pursue there in pooling new audience members that are not coming to anything else. This is comparisons between the participating entities in New Jersey, state numbers, Cape May, Cumberland, Mercer, Morris, Newark. I point out Cape May versus Cumberland since those are the two southern regions. And the thing to notice there is that we actually attract a higher percentage of non-residents than Cape May does, and that what was the other thing? Organizational spending is almost double in Cumberland County what it is in Cape May. So we're investing in it, and it's proving successful because we're attracting outside audiences to Cumberland County, which is what we want. All right, but that also shows that there's growth potential for in-county residents as well. All right, so those are just fast and furious numbers. Takeaways, obviously it's a huge component to the county's economy. It attracts a large number of first-time visitors to the county, so that's a great thing. We attract more out-of-county visitors, and our organizations contribute more to the county's economy than in Cape May. While the impact is significant, audiences are predominantly baby boomers, so we have room for growth in Gen X and millennial audiences. New cultural programming can be used by your organizations to pull those audiences into your organizations. And overnight stays are significant. Overnight stays increase spending by a factor of 10, so we want to encourage overnight stays. Only 8% are doing it right now, so there's huge room for growth there. So multi-day events and collaborative cross-promoting events on weekends are a great thing. So these are just little hints that if you can create programming that hits some of those things, the Grants Review panel is probably going to love it. All right, any questions on that data? And that was really fast. I just wanted to give you a taste of it. The full report is on our website. You would just click on plans and reports. There's a tag at the top that says commission. You put your cursor over that and a panel comes down and you can click plans and reports and it's right in there as a PDF. So let's spend a couple of minutes going through the application. Each year the commission tries to simplify this form down to the absolute minimal information that we need to make effective decisions. And so we've trimmed it down even a little bit more this year. I think we cut maybe a page or two off of the total guidelines and application. We're down under 20 pages total, so that's a good thing. Things to notice, the deadline is October 13th. It's easy to remember. It's Friday the 13th. It's in October. You know that if you hit that date and you haven't submitted a grant application, you better give me a call. We have bilingual assistance available. All you would do is call our commission member, Maria Serra de Moreno. This is her phone number right here. And she can assist you in Spanish language questions. All right? And we only need one copy of everything. We just need the original. That's all we need. So you don't have to make copies. You don't have to go to Sir Speedy or anything like that. You just do the original with all your attachments, get it to me. The way we get it to our grants review panel is when I receive it, we scan everything in and make it a PDF, and my grants review panelists get it on a flash drive. All right? And you're going to send everything to me at 164 West Broad Street in Bridgeton. That's the county offices. You can email it, and you can do it in a couple of emails. You just want to probably call me to give me a heads up just in case there's some problem. It gets lost in spam, or it's too large a file and it doesn't go through. Just double check with a phone call if you do that. All right, any questions about that? Easy breezy. All right, who can apply? Basically, almost anybody. Nonprofits or government agencies. What can be funded? Any publicly accessible arts or history event program that occurs in Cumberland County, physically in Cumberland County, in the 2018 calendar year, January to December. So if you're a nonprofit, doesn't matter if you're a social service or a church or whatever whatever you may be, or you're a government entity, and you're going to do some type of cultural program for the public, not just for your students or something, but for everybody, then you can seek grant funding from us. All right? What cannot be funded? We cannot fund capital expenses, so no buying buildings with our grant money. Equipment with a 3-year shelf life or longer, so typically that would be computers, copiers, furniture. We can't fund that. Can we fund sheet music? Yes, sheet music we can. If you think of something that might be in a gray area, shoot me an email or give me a call and we can figure out whether it's going to be eligible or not for funding through the grant. Deficit reduction, scholarships, and food and alcohol. So even though this looks fantastic and what's behind us looks fantastic, we can't use grant funds to pay for this. You can get it and use it as your match. Use that expense as your match. Okay? Any questions on those two issues? All right. Match requirements. 1 for 1. Yes.
Why did it say Gloucester County?
Oh, did it say Gloucester? I give this presentation in Gloucester, Burlington, and Cumberland, so I must have lost it. I lost it. But this is Cumberland, so we're doing Cumberland today. Dollar for dollar, so you can ask for up to 50% of the cost of the event or program. It's 2 for 1 for colleges and universities, so you can ask for 1/3 if you're a college or university. So a little quiz. Local Boys and Girls Club is doing a beautiful new mural, which they did actually with grant funds. There it is right there. If you haven't been by it, it's fantastic. And let's say it costs $18,000. Total project. What can they apply for us for in a grant? 9. That's correct. All right, so is that clear for everybody? Any questions on that? Pretty straightforward. And your match has to be cash. It cannot be in-kind services. So you need to show, and cash can be a lot of things. If you have a site, you're paying for insurance and electricity, you have a paid staff person, all of that is cash match. It doesn't have to be a dollar bill sitting in your account, okay? Acknowledgements. So acknowledgements are very important because we are funded through the State Council on the Arts in Trenton. That flows to the Board of Chosen Freeholders. The Board of Chosen Freeholders then gives it to the Commission, and the Commission then hands it out to you. So there are a lot of hands on the funding, and we want to make sure that everybody gets the credit that they deserve. So in all of your programming, in your marketing, you want to use this specific language if you're arts, and this specific language if you're history, and you want to use the logo, which we can email to you. And if you're using arts funding, you want to use the State Council on the Arts logo. And if you're using history funding, you want to use the New Jersey Historical Commission logo on everything. So if you're doing a program book, we should have a page dedicated to acknowledgements. If you're doing a theater performance, you should make an announcement before the performance with the acknowledgement language. If you're doing marketing, it should be in there, flyers, everything. All right? Because you might not know you have a freeholder in your audience, and they might not know that they're funding your event. And they see, hey, we approved this, and this is something that we fund, and it builds that connection. So that's a good thing that you want to work on supporting and enhancing. All right, and I want to show you an example. Keep in mind that with the grant application, marketing is an eligible expense. So you can include marketing costs in your grant application. I want to give you an example from Boys and Girls Club of something they did with some of their funding.
We were really inspired by the themes of the Boys and Girls Club, so we wanted to highlight diversity, inspiration, interconnectedness, creativity, things like that. So this space is an industrial area and neighborhood, so this is a way that they could beautify the space and feel really good about where they are. And it was fun for us, and it's fun for them, and it's a really good way for everyone to be involved and feel like they really had a hand at the mural and feel connected to the artwork that's going on their building now.
We received a grant from the Cultural Heritage Commission through Cumberland County, New Jersey Council on the Arts, and we were able to get support for a colorful mural that we're going to put around our new building. I am familiar with the Philadelphia Mural Arts Program. We found chroma dolls through them, and Allie and Kyle are just terrific. You know, we thought their artwork was wonderful, so that's how we chose them.
I see the mural as a beautiful representation of when everyone is working together. There's a lot of different pieces of the puzzle, but when you put it all together, there's a beautiful picture of collaboration, you know, advocacy, just being all on the same page.
We want them to be successful in life. This could be, I think, like a catalyst for them to do so.
This is their home. This is their place to kind of come, relax, and be themselves, and vent or whatever is going on. You know, this is a safe spot for them. The building and just working with the kids, it definitely is just, it's essentially restored health, either in their home life, school life, with adults that, you know, are part of their lives. They know that they have people that they can come to and talk to and be with, so it's a good experience there.
Okay, so that videographer was part of the grant application, and we funded a portion of the expense related to that videography and that marketing. Okay, so and as you will see through tonight, and if you come to the history one tomorrow, the same deal. Videography and doing videos is a really great way of marketing your organization because it works really well with social media. And so if you're not doing little 3-minute video spots, then you should be. And you can do them right from a smartphone, and there are probably 15,000 teenagers in Cumberland County that know how to do it spectacularly. I can't do it, but I'm sure they can do a great job. I can do photos, but. All right, so this is the checklist. This is what we need to see in your application in this order. And this is going to be part of it. You can see here, you're checking the checklist is part of your application. You're going to sign it and date it. All right, these pieces are what we have zeroed in on as the essential pieces of information we need to see in the application in order for the grants review panel to make a decision on your event or program or organization. All of this stuff goes towards the criteria for evaluation, which we are going to go into in detail later in the presentation. But it's these 5 components: quality of the experience, the audience impact, your governance capacity, and your funding. Those are the criteria the panel will use to make its decision on your funding level. And what do we ask for? The checklist, the signature page, a narrative, only 3 to 5 pages. If you can do it in 3, that's better than 5. Activities chart, budget forms, which you will go over, a community chart, which just asks you, we give you the demographics of the county, and we ask you to break out how that fits into your organization. List of board members, resumes of key staff and artists. Only first-time applicants, we need to see a copy of your bylaws. If you received re-grant funds in the past, don't worry about that. We need some type of financial review. It depends on your budget. It can be a 990. It can be an audit, although there aren't very many organizations that require that. It can be an internal end-of-year report. Whatever you can give us that shows us that you're balancing your budget. An ADA plan, which we will discuss. Only if you're receiving general operating support, which there are only a few organizations that receive that, we're going to need to see a long-range plan of your organization. If you're not receiving GOS, if you're just getting a special project or a general program, you don't have to submit that. And then any publicity that you would like us to see. One of the reasons we want to see publicity, specifically for returning re-grantees, is we want to see that you're acknowledging us in your flyers. So that's one of the reasons why it's important to acknowledge us in everything. All right, so that's it. We're going to go through all those. Any questions on the checklist? All right. Yes. GOS is General Operating Support. So for GOS, your organization has to have a primary mission of cultural or arts, all right? So it's very few organizations that actually do that. This is your signature page. Basically, it's your contact information, an elevator pitch on what you want to do, and then you're identifying how much you're asking from us and from what type of grant. All right, special project is going to be for a one-time event, like you're going to have a concert, or you're going to have Bay Day, or you're going to do some type of singular event. All right, that would be a special project. If it's an after-school program that meets multiple times, that's still a single event because it's one program. All right, general programming support, the second one, is if you're going to do a bunch of different things. You're going to do a concert, and you're going to do a food truck festival, and you're going to have music, and you're going to do a play, and later in the year you're going to do something else. That's general program support. And any organization, as long as you're a nonprofit or government entity, you can apply for that. And then GOS is if your primary mission is arts, you can apply for operating support, which can pay for all of your general operating expenses, your electricity, your insurance, your salary and staff, your everything. All right? GOS is a little higher standard in what we expect. We need to make sure that your organization is stable. We want to have a relationship with your organization, so maybe a special project or GPS first before you go to GOS. If you are currently receiving GOS, then ignore what I just said. You just apply for GOS, all right? And then indicate what your grant amount is there, all right? Any questions on the signature page? Yes?
I have a question. If you're based in another county, but you use a venue in Cumberland County, can you still apply?
Yes. If the event is happening in Cumberland County and it's going to impact the Cumberland County community, then yes, you can apply for grants from us.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Your general programs.
Right.
What's your thing? When you said your total, the amount you're asking for the grant,
Right.
does that also include the match as well?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So you're going to show your match on the budget forms.
Okay.
This is what you're asking from us.
Yeah. If you decide to take the plunge and go for GOS,
Right.
you've been doing the GPS for a long time, are you just done if it doesn't work? Or do you default back? Or
No, we will, unless there's something seriously wrong, we will fund you, but it may be a lower amount until we have the confidence that you're able to be sustainable and that you're doing, you're fulfilling your strategic plan and you're doing all the things you need to do, then that number can creep up.
can the GPS done over many years help to support that?
Yes. Yeah. If we have a relationship with you over multiple years, then our confidence level is probably higher and we'll feel more comfortable in funding GOS. Yep. And then just contact information. Make sure the contact information is someone that I can readily reach and that knows the grant application. So if you do the grant application, but you put your board chair on the contact information and I call him or her and I say, I'm missing, and they're like, what are you missing from what? What am I? That's a problem. So this is work level contact. I need to be able to shoot you an email and say, hey, and then also throughout the contract period, if there's reporting or a budget, a payment question or an invoice question, that I can shoot you an email and you can shoot me an email, that sort of thing. All right, that's who I want in here. Cultural code and discipline is in your guidelines. That's not super critical. Just do the best you can with that. That's something we have to report up to Trenton. It is what it is. All right. Let's see. Now, I want to talk about accessibility for a second. Why would you say your organization exists? Why do you do what you want to do? Why do you do these programs and dedicate and your volunteer time and hours and hours of your time to produce these programs? What do you hope to get out of that? Why are you doing what you're doing? Yes, Jean.
Because I want to share what I love with more people.
That's fantastic. That's just the answer I wanted. So you are doing this for the community, right? You're not doing this because you personally want to paint. If you personally wanted to paint, you'd paint. You wouldn't form a nonprofit organization and spend all this time and effort to create programming. Because you're doing that because you want to impact your community. You want to share what you love with other people. All right? So if that's the case, which I hope it is because that's the sign of a good organization, then accessibility and your audience experience is the critical component to everything you do. All right? And I want you to, I have a video from Museum of Modern Art that talks about accessibility. This is their accessibility page. And if we scroll down here,
I think it's essential that the Museum of Modern Art be a leader in responding to communities with disabilities for a very simple reason. We believe in the power of art, we believe in the significance of the artists that we represent, and we believe in the importance of the audience that visits our museum. And when you put all of that together, you want the greatest possible number of people to enjoy the power of the art that's on display here, and that means addressing the needs of everybody who comes to the museum.
When somebody says, oh yeah, if you go up to the second floor and look at such and such, we have sculptures that you can touch if you use these gloves. That's really welcoming.
Do you know how you see something in a book and how good it is to see? Imagine how it is to see it in a museum. Wow! You can actually see the brush strokes and everything. It's so pretty.
Over the years, especially in the last couple of decades, we've really tried to think of the institution as all-embracing.
I'm a hard of hearing. Does the audio guide have a transcript? It does. Let me show you how it works. I'm very happy in museum environments. I love to see things that people can do, the old paintings, the new work.
Between making it a priority within the institution, incorporating some of the latest technology, these are just the beginnings of what we would like to see at the museum.
Hi, how are you? Do you have a large paintbrush?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much.
I tend to remember what was described to me in a painting, but I'll never forget how Monet was described to me or a Kandinsky was described to me. It's just, I remember art.
Redbird taught me a whole lot of artists. Gosh, Monet, Mona Lisa, I love to see.
People come for a variety of reasons. Part of it could be very much community, meeting like-minded people.
I think that it's really important for us to be part of the community and to be part of the cultural life. And that really makes the art important to me.
This was the first place I came to for a touch tour.
I think the most important thing about the Museum of Modern Art is the way in which it can bring art and people together. And so the visitor experience is the essential aspect of what we think about when we think about how people will enjoy this museum. Of course, accessibility is essential to the visitor experience. It's at the heart of what we do here at the museum.
The world is going to be an equal place. So why not make it even for us too? So that we can stop dreaming and live.
All right, so the audience experience is the essential component, and accessibility is a key part of that. All right, so as your organization, when we talk about an ADA plan, we're not talking about the paperwork. What we're talking about is a fundamental belief in your organization that you are trying to reach everybody and you're trying to impact everyone in your community, and that is a core principle of your organization, and that everything you do works towards that. So that's kind of what we're looking for when we talk about an ADA plan. And we have a separate committee that looks at accessibility, and they review your accessibility plans, and they look at your whole grant, and they give us comments on how accessible they feel you are, what a critical component accessibility is to your organization as a whole. And then those comments are provided to the grants review panel, and that's part of their consideration in making your final score. So it's a critically important component to our scoring procedure and what we believe in at the Commission. Rather than go through every item that you should think about, I will direct you to VSA International and the Kennedy Center. That VSA, if you do VSA International, they have a Facebook page, they have a Twitter account. They are accessibility in the arts. That's kind of what they do. And you know, I would recommend liking their Facebook page. They have tons of videos on there. And they give you great ideas on how to start incorporating this into everything you do. And it's going to help all of us. It's helping the audiences reach you, and it's helping you build your audiences. So it's all good. Just a couple of points that I kind of believe in. You are, based on the Art and Economic Prosperity Study, you are performing economic development in Cumberland County. That is what you are doing. And so think of your audience members as clients, and think about practicing radical hospitality. You want to be as hospitable as you can possibly be to everybody. All right? Plan ahead. That's why we recommend a plan rather than being reactive if something negative happens. That could still happen, but you have a plan in place to respond to it. So you're being more thoughtful there. And then aim for possible, not perfect. We're not looking for your organization to be perfect in accessibility. Nobody is there. We're not there. So what we like to see, I like this quote, the most successful inclusive organizations are willing to try new things, reflect on what worked, and more importantly, what didn't, stay connected to the disability community, and revise. That's what we want to see. All right? So we would recommend that you have a coordinator, one of your board members maybe, to be an accessibility coordinator. Maybe have a committee dedicated to this, and work on that. All right? Any questions on accessibility? We do ask for a plan, 1 to 3 pages. Fundamentally, again, I don't want to go into a whole lot of, we require this, 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 this. What we'd rather see is an overall statement from your organization as best as you can do it. What we don't want to see is you give us a line that says, we comply with ADA standards, period. That's not a good response to this issue. So just think about some of these things. Talk to your board about it. Talk to volunteers and staff. The County Office on Aging provides free sensitivity training. So if you have a lot of volunteers and you haven't discussed this topic in a couple of years, you could reach out to Dave Grennan at the Office on Aging, and he can come to your organization one day or evening and give your volunteers a sensitivity training workshop. It's free, and it's really interesting. We try to do them or something like that once a year. We haven't had one yet this year, but we're going to try to maybe pull one together before the end of the year. So if you want to just invite your board to ours, you can do that, and invite your volunteers, and we'll let you know if you're on our email list or you check our social media, you'll see it. And then additionally, one of the things you receive when you receive a contract from us, and something we recommend you do for your venues. So if you are a traveling theater troupe, or you're going to use a facility that you don't own, we recommend you create an ADA compliance rider, and this is ours. You're welcome to copy this verbatim. It's on our website. You're welcome to copy this verbatim and use it for yourself. It just gives you, ask your venue that you're renting to fill this out as best they can and get it back to you. And that just gives you a little piece, some paperwork in your file to know what they have and what they don't have. And it also helps the venue think about, gee, well, why can't we offer this? And why can't we do, our signage doesn't have Braille on it. You can pick that up at Home Depot for $5 and stick it on the wall. So it's just something for everybody to think about. All right. So the narrative is kind of like the heart of the application. This is one of the most important parts. Everything's important, but this is really critical. No more than 5 pages. This is the who, what, where, when, how. All right, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Who are you going to reach? When's it going to happen? Who's involved? All right, try to be succinct. Keep in mind we receive typically over 30 applications. Grants Review Panel has to review all of them. And we don't pay them a whole lot. So we want to make sure that they get the gist of the information as clearly and succinctly as possible. All right. I'm a fiction writer in the grant proposal genre. We're not writing fiction, right? We want you to be positive about your event, but we don't want you to be pie in the sky either. If you've had events in the past and there have been challenges, it's great for us to see you critically assessing previous events and saying, this didn't work, this was a problem, we're changing it this way this year. That's wonderful to see. You know, if you're having an event and it's a first-time event and you're saying, yeah, we're going to attract 15,000 people to the event, that's a red flag for us. You know, we want to see realistic numbers, as realistic as you can get. Everything's a projection, we recognize that, but we don't, you know, it causes us a little bit of eye rolls, you know, when we're at the grants review panel if somebody says, yeah, we're 15,000 people. All right, and so just do the best you can with the narrative. Any questions on the narrative? Try to make it a story. That's what everything is. That's what attracts people to basically anything, is a good story. So tell us the positives. You're doing this event because you want to change the community, you want to help children, you want to reach out to the elderly, you want to make things great in Cumberland County. That's basically what we want to hear. All right? Publicity plan. So we don't ask for a specific publicity plan. It's a good idea in your narrative to spend maybe a paragraph or two talking about your outreach efforts. Right? What we do in the guidelines is we basically recommend certain things. So if your organization is not on multiple social media, then you've got to get on it immediately. All right? That is critically important. You should have a Facebook page. You should have an Instagram account. You should have a Twitter page. You should be using social media in every way possible. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how important that is when we talk about the criteria. In Cumberland County, we would recommend that you consider including bilingual, or at least having bilingual sensitivity in your programming. Not that you have to do everything in English and Spanish, but just as we did, have an option if someone needs more information and their primary language is Spanish, that you have a way for them to access that information. A large portion of our population has English as a second language, and so it is important that you want to reach that audience since it's such a large portion of our population, and the best way to do that is to build comfort with that community, and having some understanding of their sensitivity with language is useful. What else? When we ask what audience are you going to attract? If you say, oh, we're going to attract all 156,000 people in Cumberland County, that's who we're shooting for. Well, how are you really doing that? I mean, let's get some details. How are you going to market that? So for instance, when we really got into social media, one of the things we discovered is that the people we hit with Twitter were completely different than who we impacted through Facebook. Two totally separate cohorts of people. And so when we want to really attract younger audiences, we aim for Twitter. When we want to attract parents, we aim for Facebook. So there are definite, and you just gain a knowledge of this over time, but if you say you want to attract kids and middle school age kids, then how are you going to get to their parents? How are you going to get to them through marketing? Give us some that you've thought about this, that you're not just going to, we're going to print 100 flyers and hand them out. That is something a little bit deeper than that. And then how are you going to reach communities that you're not reaching now? So all of us have communities that we're missing. There are gaps in who we can attract as an audience. How are you going to encourage them to come to your event? Is there a different way to market specifically for that group of folks that you need to attract or want to attract to your event? So think about that. And then how do you collect audience demographic data? This is a tough question. So, do you have audience intercept surveys? Do you take zip codes when you sell tickets? Do you get their email address and follow up with a friendly email? Do you encourage them to friend you on Facebook? Do you, how? There are tons of different ways to collect demographic data. However, let's hear about how you do it and what kind of success rates you're having. Do you understand your audience that you're attracting right now? All right, so that's something important. Because if you say, all right, I'll give you an example. When I gave this presentation in Gloucester County, there's an organization that does classical music. And they said that they're having a real problem attracting any audiences. They can't get, they can get, a couple dozen to an event, but that's it. And they don't know what the problem is. And I said, well, who's your audience? They had no idea who their audience. I mean, are they 65 or older? Are they from the neighborhood? Are they from Gloucester County? Are they from out of county? There was really no fundamental understanding of who they were attracting. So consequently, there was no way of determining how to expand that audience because they didn't know who they were missing. So even if you have a low audience, it doesn't mean we're not going to fund you. But if you have a low audience and you have no idea why you have a low audience, then that's a problem. But if you say, yeah, we had a low audience, but we know, we're only attracting retirees. And so we need to do programming, we need to amend our programming or expand our programming to attract more audiences, and this is how we're going to do it in 2018. Super. We're going to totally fund that. All right? Budget. We have made these forms so easy. If you've been with us for like a decade, I mean, we used to ask for last year's, this year's, next year's. It was crazy. All we need to know is what you're projecting for 2018. That's all we want to know. Just project out what your expenses are going to be, project out where you're hoping to get some income, and that's it. So in this, and these forms are on our website. They're all in Excel, and they automatically fill in. So you put in a number here in the orange, and you put in a number here, and the blue's going to fill in automatically for you. All right? So it's pretty easy. This column is for your request to us. So if you're going to ask for $9,000, right, here, $9,000 you're asking for us. It's an $18,000 event, $9,000. You're going to put in here, well, we're going to put $1,000 in for administrative expenses. We're paying an artist $2,500. We need supplies for the artist, so that's going to be $500. We're going to do marketing, so that's going to be $500. When all those numbers in here, they should add up to $9,000 down here. All right? Match needs to be at least $9,000. It can be more, but it has to be at least equal to your grant request. And it doesn't have to be the same categories. You could say, all right, we're going to pay our administrative director, but we're going to put that all in our matching funds because we don't want to ask for grant funds for administration. Instead, we're going to put that all in here, but what we will do is put artistic salaries under grant. So it doesn't have to be like 500 here, 500 here. It can, so long as the bottom numbers are equal to, or your match is a little bit greater, that's fine. All right, and then this just gives us totals per category. And these categories are kind of identical to what we have to fill out for the state. So it just helps us out, and we try to simplify it as much as possible. So now it's time to play Where Does It Go? All right, $200 to Sir Speedy for printing flyers and brochures. Where could you put that as an expense? I'm sorry? Marketing, you could put it in marketing. That's correct. That's great. That is right. All right. Your administrator spends 48 hours of her time organizing your art event. Where does that go? Well, no, category. What category? Administrative salaries. That's right. You can put it in either one. Oh, I gave you that one. $100 for paint and paintbrushes, supplies and materials. I gave you that one too. Local theater is charging $1,200 for use of the stage. Space rental. All right, so it's pretty straightforward. All right. Let's see. Oh, all right. Muralist is charging $800 for an installation on your building. Where would that go? Artistic salaries, yes. And it goes on outside because it's an outside artist. It's not someone staffed in your organization. All right? If it was an artist that you're paying and is staffed in your organization, it would go under artistic salaries under personnel. All right? Is that pretty straightforward? If you have any questions, if there's a gray area, you're not sure, just give me a call and we'll figure out what category. And it's not the end of the world if you put it in the wrong category. If the panel catches it, I'll shoot you an email and say, hey, we were wondering about this. You know, can you clarify it? All right, and then we ask for the same thing on income. This is only one column. 2018 projected. All right, you have earned income, contributed income from private sources, contributed income from government, and other income. This is pretty simple. Where does it go? A $400 grant from the Dodge Foundation. It would go on foundations right here. Foundations and nonprofits. $1,200 income from ad sales in a program book. That could be, that is merchandise. And see, ad sales, and it's right there. All right? Oh, I gave you that one. Shoot, this button. The local Ford dealer donates $400. That goes in corporations and businesses. $150 from a bake sale done a month prior to the event. Now that's a little tough, but I would put that under individual and other private sources because it was like individuals paying for bake sales and, all right? So does everybody understand the budget forms? If you don't, you can give me a call and we can go over your budget. You can, the other thing you can do is you can draft it and email it to me before the deadline and I can review it and then get you back any questions or problem areas. All right? All right. Now we're into the fun stuff. This is the criteria for evaluation. Everything goes back to the criteria for evaluation. This is what we are going to use for determining your award and your score. Everything is scored, and then based on your score, we calculate whether, you know, number one, your initial amount, and then if we're going to increase you, cut you, or keep you stable from previous year if you're a re-grant, if you've applied previously. All right, the first criteria, quality of art. Does the project, program, or institution have a system or plan to ensure the highest quality to the work being conducted Is the organization listening to numerous interests and points of perspective? Is the work or organization engaging and thought-provoking? How innovative is the concept? All right, so what we are looking for here is relevancy, audience interest, impact, quality. Okay? Here are some examples, and I'm going to talk about these, and I have to pull my notes. My cheat sheet. So the top piece is glass. It is a dual perspective. It's an art piece, but it also talks about mining, the mining industry, and ecology within the community. So it had a dual purpose. The sun is from the Tate Modern in London, and it was called the Weather Project. It was extremely successful. It was basically a huge space with a lighted object in the roof that reminded people of a sun. The ceiling was mirrored, and people would come, and it was experiential. And that's a real key component here, is experiential. That is what audiences want. That's what they want on the art side. That's what they want on the history side. You're going to hear this even more tomorrow night if you come to the history one. Everything that is attracting audiences now is an experience. If it's not an interesting experience, you're not going to get audiences. So we want something that is experiential. All right? They would come here and they would lay on the floor and they would look up at the mirrors and they would be part of the exhibit, and the people in the room with them would be part of the exhibit, and there would be interaction, and it was apparently awesome. I didn't go. This is The Artist is Present from New York. This was at Museum of Modern Art. And all this was the performance artist here, Abramovich. She would come in the morning and she'd sit there and people would line up and they would sit across from her and you could stare at each other for as long as you wanted. All right? And so they had a live feed of this running. The live feed attracted 800,000 hits. All right? They had everyone in line would have their headshot taken as part of the experience. You would have your headshot taken. MoMA made a Flickr account that all it showed were headshots of people in line. That was accessed 600,000 times, right? Because you are part of the experience. Number one, if you're an audience member there, you're part of the experience, which is awesome and you love it. But then your curiosity catches you and you're like, well, who else? You know, who's in line? And it's all about, attraction and sociability, and it was just amazing. 500,000 people appeared in person to this exhibit. All right, so it was a tremendous success. Celebrities showed up to be part of it. Marissa Tomei, Isabella Rossellini, Rufus Wainwright. So it became a happening. It was the thing to do. It was spread all over social media. People would wait in line and they'd be on their Twitter account saying, this is amazing, and the person sitting in front of her right now is a real dork, and it was just kind of just interactive, all right? And it worked. And it was an experience.
Sorry, where did you see that display?
Museum of Modern Art. There were demonstrations. People used this. They said, oh, well, where is everybody? They're at MoMA. Let's go demonstrate. And all right? And it was incredible.
Now, how long did that go on?
This went on for, I think it was only a month.
So every day? Every day. She just sat there?
Every day she sat there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I would definitely. Yes. the wait in line, sometimes you would wait in line, never get in front of her because there was no limit to how long you could sit across from her. Some people sat there for 30 seconds, some people sat there for 3 hours. So you were not guaranteed to sit across from her. No. It was her looking into you. So it was interesting. And then the fourth piece here, because somebody said to me at the Gloucester County workshop, well, it's MoMA. They spent millions of dollars on that. What are we supposed to do? Well, here's an exhibit. They asked the local neighborhood to donate used sneakers, and then they created an art installation out of it. And so you immediately had a connection with the surrounding community because, number one, they wanted to go in and see what you did with their shoe, right? Number two, you could have all of those kids in that neighborhood participate in a workshop where they took one of their shoes and they turned it into art. All right, so there were lots of possibilities there. This is at I believe is Europe. I think it's the biennial that's going on this year. So it was an art installation as part of a larger installation. And then I want to give you some examples of social media and how you can promote things, because a lot of times we think, okay, social media has to be marketing related and it has to promote something that we're doing. It does not. What you are trying to do is create a vibe around your organization or artists within your organization. And so I want to give you some examples of artists, performing artists, that have done their own little social media thing, just their own little thing, but it attracts attention to them and then to the organizations that they are a part of. And so I would encourage you to do this. What am I doing here? Where is this? There we go. Is this going to be blocked because I'm going to, let's do this. Let's do, we want that to be, oh, I know what I can do here. Hold on one sec. I just want to move this up a little bit. Move this over here. And then do this. And then this, and then I can hit it here. There we go. So all that was two performers in the studio, fooling around, stable camera, did their little thing, did it to some music, added some music, dubbed in some music, put it on their social media. I'm interested. If they're part of a dance troupe, I'm going to go see their performance. So you can encourage, and it helps artists with the issue of promotion, self-promotion, which is sometimes a difficult thing. And so if you start talking about this in your organization with your artists, performing artists, painters, whoever they may be, and start thinking about, listen, if you want to explore creative new things, try them. If they work out, video it and put it on social media and hashtag our organization. Maybe come up with a policy that before they hashtag you, the executive director has to see it or something like that, just to maintain some control. But it's a great way to encourage interest. Let's see something else. Which one is this? Oh, this is cool.
My name is Augusto Kivel, and I do sculptures with buttons.
I would really recommend liking My Modern Met on Facebook. They have some really, really cool, innovative art. How easy is that? Think of the workshops, the kids' activities, the programming you could have around that type of art. And buttons and some wire is cheap. You can buy buttons and have all sorts of fun with it. So that's just something different. Now this, yes?
You were saying have like artists do something in the organization and then you have it approved by the board with the hashtag. Is there some kind of, like, how can you stop somebody from hashtagging whatever your organization?
Well, you can't really.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
But if you wanted to encourage it as a policy within your organization, you could have some control over it. But no, if they wanted to hashtag something negative, they could. Now, you can block that. If you see it, you can block it. But, all right, this is another performing artist. And instead of doing it in a studio, they just went out into a public space and did something. And just another great example.
I won't keep watching you dance around in your smoke and flicker out. Nothing like I used to know. I don't believe in safety nets. Stronger love, make it alright to let go. You gotta hold on. heart's gonna slip, slip, slip through your, slip, slip, slip through your hands. Heart's gonna slip, slip, slip through your, slip, slip, slip through your hands. Where's that thing I used to know? Where's that thing I used to know? Where's that light I used to know? Where's the light I used to know? Slip, slip, slip through your hands.
So that again, simple, required a third person because the camera was moving around, so there was a third person holding the camera. But again, very attractive art and creates a vibe, creates a buzz. And how many kids are out there after school doing this right now, just playing around with different art movement? I mean, how many shows, Who's Got Talent and all these other things, that the talent is out there. They're doing this already. Utilize it for your organization, promote it, encourage your artists to do it, okay? And then I have one last one. Let me see what I can't recall what is this a good one? Let's see. Oh my God, this is awesome. This is ceramic arts. So this is an artist that uses turntables and strobe lights. And when you spin it at the right RPM, it does that. Experiential, something that a friend of yours is going to post on Facebook and say, this is incredible. You have got to get over to see this thing. I've never seen anything like it before in my life. That's what we want you to think about. All right? Second criteria is audience engagement. Audiences seek experiences that are active, immersive, and even social. How well does the organization understand and know its audience? Is the activity participatory or have a participatory component? Is there a learning component? Is the experience more than a singular event and include ways of continuing interaction and impact? So again, this goes into experiential. This is what we want. All right? These 3 exhibits were all immersive, experiential. They were all happening in LA, all at the same time last year. All right, this article, the arts buzzword of 2016, immersive. All right, immersive, you hardly have to market. The audience will market it for you through social media. This is the Chinese Lantern Festival in Philadelphia earlier this year. How many went to that? You did? Pretty cool.
It was.
It was amazing.
Everybody with me go around 3 times.
Uh-huh. Amazing.
It was.
How did you find out about it?
Someone told me about it, and then I read about it in the newspaper.
Mm-hmm. I saw it on a friend's Facebook page. Okay. It's very photographic. Wow. They encourage you to photograph. That is something else I will say to you. You should encourage photography everywhere of everything. You should not limit photography. If you have a historic house, do not say, please no photographs. You can say no flash photography, but you want to encourage photography. Philadelphia Museum of Art, if you've been there recently, you can photograph every single thing in that building. No problem, just don't use flash. All right, and why do they do that? Because that's one of their best marketing tools. It's word of mouth from friend to friend through social media that is drawing audiences today. And something like this is doing it really well. All right, let's see. So this one is called Nimbus.
Come into this space and the visuals and the music already tune your ears to something unusual, and that transformative space that music really creates. Nimbus is something that we're calling a performance installation. It's something between sculpture, between composition, between live performance, and between architecture. To me, that feels very operatic in its own way. The core idea of the piece began with a series of rising and falling, and in many ways that's the essence of all music, is the connection of one note to another, which always implies either an ascent or a descent. You can think about it in terms of volume, either increasing in the crescendo or decrescendo. So that became, in a way, the motor of what this final installation really is. And thinking about the escalators having that sense of ascent and coming up into the hall and making that act of entering the hall its own transformative act. What's nice about these escalators in particular is that they're open to the public, and so this particular installation is free and you can visit anytime over the course of the entire year.
There's your marketing right there.
Okay, so that was public space. It was free. It was installed and ran the whole year. So you extended your installation costs across the whole calendar year. It attracted an audience to a concert hall who may not have come in the first place. It created an interest in music that they may not appreciate or understand, but now they're here, they're fascinated by what's going on, and they want to know more. So they are building audiences through doing this. Most of the marketing was done exclusively through word of mouth and social media. It created a buzz. Next thing they knew, the newspapers were contacting them to do stories. They did different videos of it. Fantastic example. And then if you're a performer and you're a theater group,
I'm with Desi Santiago, production and costume designer for Seeing You.
What was the inspiration and how did you conceive this black box full of different magical scenes?
Basically, we took this space and reaching people's perspective. The plan with space and time and perception.
How long did the design take you to do? And the central thing to the show is movement. I mean, it's the actors moving through the space.
this is under the High Line in Chelsea. This is not a theater space.
We're going to look at a particular room and all the scientific formulae. Yeah. What is that about?
Yeah, so this is sort of...
The audience members actually walk through the space rather than sit in a chair through the whole performance.
This is an amazing room. Tell us about the creation of the room and what we're seeing.
Earlier in the show, you see the closed lab and
The volume on this one isn't cooperating with me, so I'll skip it because there's a lot more to see. But again, this black box concept of theater performances is very attractive right now. And so if you have a performing arts group, then you can consider more fringe performances with smaller audiences in smaller spaces, and maybe not a theater. Maybe consider it to conduct your programming somewhere else besides a typical theater, traditional theater. All right, this is in New York, and this is at the Park Avenue Armory. This was an interactive piece where there was fabric and it was hung through a pulley system, and then there were large swings, and when you sat on the swing, it affected the way the fabric hung, and so you were interacting with the art. And again, most of the publicity was done through social media, word of mouth. This is exactly what you want to see. This is free advertising and marketing right there. All right. And then
Know Your Own Phone. Helps communicate with potential visitors off-site. But what role do social media channels play on-site? A pretty big one, it turns out. You're watching Know Your Own Phone, Fast Facts for Cultural Executives. I'm Colleen Dillon-Schneider. Let's consult impacts in the Trustee National Awareness Attitudes and Usage Study to see what information sources visitors to cultural organizations use while they are on site. 52% of visitors to cultural organizations, such as museums or performing arts entities, for instance, report using social media channels on site during their visit. This means that over half of visitors are checking out an organization's social media channels or sharing something from their own experience while they're on site. Over half. Not only that, on-site social media use tends to increase visitor satisfaction. Check out this data that contemplates the average satisfaction levels of people who report using each of these channels on-site, alongside the satisfaction levels of those who did not use that channel. Take a look at how things stack up for mobile apps, not much of an impact here. Peer review sites like Yelp and TripAdvisor, direct mail and brochures, word of mouth or interpersonal interactions, mobile web, and social media. Interpersonal interactions increase on-site satisfaction the most, and that's no surprise, as there's significant data to underscore the importance of face-to-face interactions. But those who use social media on-site also have greater visitor satisfaction rates than those who do not. And so do folks who use mobile web on-site. So does using social media on-site increase visitor satisfaction, or do folks who are more satisfied with their experiences feel more inclined to use social media? Well, it's likely both. And in either case, there's a positive relationship. On-site social media usage is a prevalent thing, and it's generally a very good thing. Satisfaction rates are a key metric that drive intent to revisit, value for cost perceptions, and positive word-of-mouth endorsements. Social media not only helps motivate visitation off-site, but it plays an important role in on-site satisfaction. And that's an update that's worth sharing. And now you're in the know. Thanks so much for watching. For more information, go ahead and check out Know Your Own Phone.
I would recommend that. That's a really awesome site for cultural organizations. All right, attendance and quantitative impact. How many individuals will be touched by this programming in some way? Are there plans to reach as many people as possible? Is the marketing inclusive? All right, so when we look at interactivity, we're looking at audience interest. All right, here's an interactive performance piece. This, let me just pull my notes here. This is Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812. It's the American Repertory Theater in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The newspaper had a difficult time identifying what this exactly was, so they referred to it as the electro-pop musical is challenging traditional theater barriers in content, design, and architecture. So you can see their audience members actually on stage as well as out in the audience. If the newspaper has a hard time classifying what you're doing, that's a really good thing. So if you create some, if Jody from Daily Journal comes up and says, "What's going on here?" and you're like the guy from LA trying to describe Nimbus, and he says, "Well, it's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that. We're calling it a performance installation architecture piece." That's excellent. That's going to create some interest in the audience, and it's going to have an impact. Right, this is from an Australian theater group. Right on their website, they talk about accessibility and how important it is to their theater. And they have a commitment statement here. I would recommend that for your websites. You should have a statement on accessibility that builds a comfort level with a disabled community. This is just a picture of an audience. This is a great audience. You can see, can you see diversity in that audience? Do you want to, how is it diverse? Age, ethnicity, gender, right? It's all there. Everybody's interested in whatever is happening there. I don't know what it is, but I want to go, you know? All right, governance. Does the organization have a track record of good programming administration? Is the governance, both staff and board, diverse and inclusive? Is the governance representative of the community being served? Are high standards of professional conduct in place? Does the program or institution conduct critical assessment to determine success and impact? These are some categories that you should be thinking about when you're talking about board representation and socially marginalized groups that should probably try to be included in your board. This is a statement that an organization put on their analysis, which I thought was really interesting. Some organizations consider diversification as programming something by an Asian playwright or Latino composer and wondering why new audiences don't rush through the door. True diversification is a scary prospect, one that requires fundamental changes to all aspects of the organization. If we are truly diversified, we can't have all middle-aged white people sitting on our boards. We can't continue to maintain practices ranging from where we perform to how we sell our tickets that are currently comfortable primarily for wealthy people. So this is a fundamental analysis of your organization. This is the breakout of ethnicity in Cumberland County. We are one of only 4 counties in the state that is a minority-majority population, which means that no ethnic group has a greater than 50% portion of the populace. All right, that's an amazing statistic, particularly given that we are the only county south of Newark that meets that criteria. All right, and when I give this presentation in Gloucester, it's much more blue. And when I go up to Burlington, it's even more blue. So I relay to them that Cumberland is actually more representative of the way the country is going demographically than they are. And so that they need to start recognizing diversity in all aspects of their programming. And then I'm a Futurama fan, and this is a very diverse audience. That is diverse. All right, this is a quote from an analysis. Given the growing diversity of the United States population, the importance of governance diversity has significant ramifications for organizational sustainability, legitimacy, and the relationship of the arts to civic engagement in the broader society. To the extent that cultural organizations engage a wider variety of groups, their opportunity for value and impact is enhanced. I like the use of the term legitimacy. If you are not representative of the communities you're trying to serve, I think it is legitimate for those communities to question the legitimacy of your organization, bottom line. So you want to be representative on your administrative board of who you are serving. All right, this is the grants review panel that will be reviewing your applications this year. We work on building diversity in all of our boards and subcommittees, and you can see that this is, we try to be as diverse as possible in ethnicity, gender, all the criteria that I showed you under the considerations that you should make. Yes?
Age.
Eduardo is 18. No, he's 19 or 20. He just finished his associate's degree. And Erica is in her 30s, Kevin is in his 40s. We do not have any octogenarians on the review panel, but maybe next year we will, because they have 3-year term cycles, and so they switch all the time. 2 of these will switch off this year, and we'll have to find 2 new people for next year. So it is always changing. Okay? Budget. Does the organization seem to have a realistic grasp of the programming cost? Is the organization working to diversify funding sources across government, foundation, business, and audience member giving? Is efficiency a consideration in programming goals? This is a chart showing all the different avenues of funding for a nonprofit. There are a lot in here. To the extent that you can diversify your funding sources, that's going to benefit your score. So there is besides the income and expense, there is a fundraising budget form. And all we want there is list out the different organizations that you've approached. So if you go to your Chamber of Commerce and ask for $100, put that in there. If you ask for $100 and they don't give you anything, still put them on there and put 0 next to them, because that shows the Grants Review panel that you're doing the outreach to these other funding sources. You know, that you went to Lowe's and you went to the Dodge Foundation and you went to the Council for the Humanities. All right, and actually Council for the Humanities is an organization I would recommend you check out, because their funding source is different than where we get our funding for the Arts Council. So you can apply to them and still apply to us. All right. Are you planning for the economic stability of your organization in the long term? Is that a yes? Would you say yes to that? Yes. You're not going to say no, right? If you say yes, then you need to be engaging diverse audiences now. This is a projection of ethnic diversity in the United States. Starts in 1960 and it runs to 2050. You can see the diversity increasing as we move through the decades. So you will need to be working on diversity of funding sources. What if we don't change at all and something magical just happens? That's a comic, but we have actually seen that in organizations. They say we don't need to, we don't have any audiences, we're losing audiences left and right, but we don't need to change, we're fine. That's a problem for our Grants Review panel. All right? So what are our takeaways? The mediocre and the mundane do a disservice to the cultural community and damage community interest and relevancy for the entire sector. That is very true. So if a politician or an audience member goes to an event that is blah, not interesting, not very inclusive, that is going to create a negative perception of the whole field. And so we don't want that. We want just the opposite of mediocre and mundane. Do anything other than mediocre. All right? Try something new, and failing or needing to revise is much better than repetitive programming that is less inclusive, not very innovative, and poorly managed. All right? So be encouraged to try new and different things. We support that. The panel will support that. The commission will support that. If it doesn't work, do the critical assessment to find out why and report it to us. So that then when you apply next year for something that's a revision of that, we can say they know the direction they're going and we're confident in funding that. Practice radical hospitality. You are participating in economic development. This is a business, and you should treat audiences like they are clients, customers, or guests. All right? They're not doing you a favor by showing up, right? You are serving them. They are the blood of your organization. Audiences don't lie. Success comes from being relevant, for providing something audiences want to see and do, create an experience that guests will want to share with their friends, encourage social media and photography in everything all the time. Okay? And finally, create amazing art, educate and tell a fascinating story, build connections, make friends, and have fun. Because we're not doing this if we're not going to have fun. Why do you want to do it if you're not going to have fun? All right? That's it. This is our website. We're on these social media. Like us, tag us, whatever. And I do consulting work outside the county as pinemount.com. So are there any questions? Yes?
Is this document available?
I will put it on the website sometime after tomorrow's workshop. We are also having it video recorded, and once that is edited, it will go onto our YouTube channel, and so you will be able to watch the whole thing from beginning to end on our YouTube channel. And our last several years have all been videotaped as well, so you can see last year's presentation, the year before that. Any programming that we do to the public is typically video recorded and we put on our YouTube channel. So you can check it out, and we have, I forget how many videos we have on there now, but there are quite a few. All right? And we'll send you a notification when it gets on our YouTube channel. All right? Any other questions?
Yeah, just public information. I'm Ralph Dill with the Puerto Rican Action Committee of Southern New Jersey. We have offices in Vineland. We opened up our Hispanic Institute of Cultural and Heritage and Economic Development in April. Many of the organizations need services. When you're applying for funding like this, where your organization needs services in regards to outreach or anything like that with the Hispanic community, feel free to call upon us. We're at racknj.com.
And that's a great segue into recommending collaborative programming. So if you're all here tonight, you can all talk amongst yourselves and come up with some collaborative programming. We love to see that. If you're not sure who to work with, give me a call tomorrow and say, we have this program, we could use some help with it. Who do you suggest? And we can talk about how you can collaborate. It happens all the time. We just finished a big collaboration with Gallery 50 on their Artisan Landscape program and plein air, and we had an awesome time, and it increased participation. I think it definitely increases participation. It keeps growing. That's right. That's right.
Getting a bit of a reputation.
It is, which is awesome. Any other questions? All right, grab some food on your way out, and thank you for coming tonight. Yep.